Built for More podcast, Denny Thompson, Pastor Joby Martin, head coach of Boise State, Spencer Danielson. I'm fired up about this. Coach, welcome into Built for More. We appreciate the time.
Denny, Pastor Joby, so appreciate you guys having me jump on. This podcast is awesome. Fired up to chop it up with you guys a little bit.
One of the main things I want to do with this podcast is get coaches on. I think it's such an interesting job, especially these days. And when you talk about Built for More, when you talk about what this podcast is, I mean, God, coaches are perfect for it. Absolutely perfect. So I hope we do well on this one so that we can get more coaches on is what I'm trying to say, Coach. So
well, we started big, man. We started.
We did.
Big time.
We
well,
did.
My heart, I have a special place in my heart for football coaches because I don't know how much you know about my story, but I was not led to Christ by an evangelist or a pastor or a pro or a missionary, but it was a high school football coach that displayed and described the gospel to me, and that's how I got saved.
It's a powerful position.
Yeah, no doubt.
It is such a powerful position, especially at the age that Coach Danielson's in. But Coach, let's start off with a little bit about where you're at and kind of your history. I kind of went down the rabbit hole last night, and young, the head coach of Boise State. You're named the head coach? Was it 35 years old, 34 years old?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to grow a beard like Pastor Joby,
Let's
man.
go.
I get mixed up a lot, man. By the grace of God, I mean we're so blessed and love where we're at and excited what God's doing.
Well, I was reading through like the if you go to the Boise State roster, I'm going to read you the very first line of what they say about Coach. It says the first paragraph says, Spencer Danielson, who embodies the program's Built Different mantra, is a former Boise State graduate assistant who rose from the lowest man on the coaching totem pole to leader of the program in 7 years. My man was a GA, which for those that don't know, GA is basically a volunteer position, in 2017 at Boise State, and is now the head coach and was named the head coach in 2023. Coach, that's unprecedented.
Yeah, it's the whole story of where we're at now, where me and my wife and our family came from to here. I know we'll get into it more, but I'm a Southern California kid. My dad was in the Army. My mom was a teacher. No coaching in the legacy or lineage and any of that, and came out to Boise, Idaho in 2017. And I remember telling my wife when we came out here, like, babe, just so you know, we probably in 2 years, we're going to have to look for a job because this is not probably going to go well. I'm trusting the Lord right now, but let's get our minds ready for this. And we were here and I remember when we got married, we met at Azusa Pacific, which is a small Christian school in Southern California. I chased her around until she finally said, I can hang out with this weird guy, and got married. And we worked there for a while. But then when we moved out here, I said, babe, the cool thing about this is I'm going to work more than I've ever worked and make less money than I've ever made. So let's know what we're getting into here. But in Southern California, we had like a 500 square foot apartment where you can hear the next door neighbors change their mind. And we moved to Boise State, and we got a 2-bedroom apartment.
Let's go.
And I thought like we just hit the Taj Mahal. Like I was walk to work, making $800 a month. And running fast, man. So, and just seeing God work so many things out over the years, man. So blessed and absolutely love where we're at. Love this community and excited what God's doing.
One of my favorite things when I go to all these schools, which I spend most of my days at football practices, is you look around and you look at all the coaches, right? And there's a ton of coaches on these staffs by the time you get done with everything. And there's, a handful of them making a lot of money.
Yep.
But it's the one profession that you look at and you go, you know what? It's great. These guys are making a lot of money, but every one of these jokers would do it for $25,000 because they have done it for $25,000.
Yeah.
And it really is one of those things where these guys are living out a passion that just happens to have recently been very well paying. Like, we've heard about head coaches making a ton of money, but Coach, it's fairly recent that, you could support a family very comfortably as a position coach in college. That's all within the last, 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's cool. Like, I just think it's like these guys are doing it for the love and for the passion. And oh, by the way, there's money involved.
Well, I am a capitalist, so I think they produce something that everybody wants, and you should get, you should be compensated for what you do. So well done, coach. Just be generous.
Amen. Amen.
So
No,
coach, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it just almost to that point, Danny, getting into, because when I was in college, I thought I wanted to do business. Because I mean, I come from great parents, but never didn't live a lavish life growing up by any means, but just wanted, did business, got my MBA because I'm like, I want to make money. I want to that sweet car in the parking lot. I want to drive that one day.
Yeah.
This beat up old Suburban. I'm tired of grabbing the handle to make sure it doesn't open up on the freeway. You know what I mean? But just got into coaching because felt called to have an impact on those players the same way I was, and very blessed to make what we make and try and give as much of it away because there's no U-Hauls on your way to heaven. So
no doubt.
Excited.
And if you chase money, the worst thing you can do is get it.
Oh,
because then it'll get you.
100%.
But if you do what God's called you to do, you can trust him to take care of you. And
That's right.
he may give you a lot because you can be trusted with a lot.
That's right.
Yeah, you never apologize for how much you make. As long as you make it in a godly way. You might have to apologize for what you do with it, but there's no apologies for God blessing you.
Yeah.
Just be a blessing.
So you said you met your wife, is it Rachel? Is that right?
That's right.
So you met her at Azusa Pacific, and she was a volleyball player? Is that right?
She was, yeah.
Yeah, see, I did a little research on this.
Look at you, man.
Oh, yeah, you're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Azusa Pacific, small Christian school, Division II, NCAA, but this is, 2009. So there wasn't a lot of social media going on. So we played games in front of, 4,000 or 5,000 people. I felt like I was playing in the Rose Bowl every week, because that's all you know. And I remember my roommate was dating Rachel's roommate. And I remember we go to a volleyball game and I was like, I'm very interested in jersey number 3. And so I go up to her and I say, your boyfriend must be awesome. And she says, I don't have a boyfriend. I said, perfect. I'm Spencer. Great to meet you.
That's fantastic.
That's head coach material
honestly,
right there.
Yeah, she immediately ran away and said, that guy's weird. I don't want anything to do with him. So I had to probably come back from that.
You didn't know you were a recruiter. That's when you should have known. You had the recruiting skills.
See, we both thought that was a great line.
Bro, I thought it was great. I asked Gretchen for a spot. That's how we met. I saw her in the gym. I walked up. I got in her space, which is about the size of the whole gym. She said, can I help you? I said, gotta get a spot. That's the first thing I ever said. But we've been married 25 years, so whatever.
Yeah, worked out. I mean, I met Angie when she was 12.
Of course.
And now, let me just be clear.
How
I
old
was
were you?
like 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, yeah, it's been a minute. I mean, I'm dang near 50, so I don't remember I think we went out on a bet.
Oh.
I think one of my friends bet me in church, Deer Meadows Baptist here locally. I was like, what about that girl sitting in front of us? I was like, she's got a boyfriend. They're like, oh, you're scared. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay,
let's
let's
go.
go.
So, yeah, won a $5 bet in the process. So, worked out.
Oh, man, you won more than that, brother.
So, Coach, you didn't come from a coaching background. When did you know that you wanted to get into coaching?
Yeah, so when I had a great high school coach, so really fell in love with the game of football and just doing it the right way to where you can be a Christian, but there's nothing soft about being a Christian either. Where that was, being born and raised in a Christian home, there's kind of some of those connotations where it's like this, oh, there's the Christians don't normally know. You can whoop somebody pretty good, right? And still do it in a way where you glorify the Lord. So fell in love with that in high school. But when I was at Azusa Pacific, the coaches there, the head coach, Victor Santa Cruz, Bo Beatty, Brian, I mean, I had guys in my life that poured into me as a person, as a 19, 20-year-old kid just running fast and not knowing all the time which way to turn, and just impacted my life. And so, and then as a junior at Azusa Pacific, they took a bunch of our juniors and seniors up to a young life camp to where we could kind of come around and chaperone these high school kids with their coaches. And I did that one summer. And I remember being at a campfire at the end of this camp and just listening to these high school kids talk about their coach and just the impact their high school coach had on them. And I'm sitting at this fire just crying. Yeah. And I remember coming back down from that camp, already kind of feeling the itch that the Lord put in my heart. But I remember came down from that camp and said, man, I want to coach when this thing's done. And I talked to Victor Santa Cruz, our head coach, and I was a junior at that time. And I just knew when I got done playing, I wanted to coach. So I got done playing in 2012, I think it was. I got done playing in December and started coaching in January. And this is all I've done. And small school coaching, I mean, it's like, here's a couple $100 and a Little Caesars pizza and go to work. You know what I mean? So it was we figured out a lot, screwed a lot of things up, and had a lot of people in my life that came around me and helped me grow. And Bo Beatty, who was a coach there, a huge just mentor in my life, told me 3 things: love Jesus, work hard, treat people right. And those are 3 things to this day that I have a wristband of, I talk about. And I believe, like, if I can truly do those 3 every day, no matter what I'm in, husband, father, football, whatever, like, I'm gonna be okay. If I can love Jesus, work hard, and treat people right, I'm gonna be on. That's my true north that I'm gonna stay on. And so that's where I just fell in love with this game, but more, not even just this game, because I don't coach because I love football that much. I love the game, but I coach to have an impact. I coach to hopefully change a young man's life or people that I'm around to be better. Like, that's the impact. That's my why. And that really started right when I was at Azusa Pacific.
Well, usually when you look at coaches' resumes, it's pretty long. It's like they go from one part of the country to the other part of the country, and then somewhere else and somewhere else. His is not. It's Azusa Pacific, 2013 as a GA, 2014-16 as a linebacker coach, and then 2017 he's at Boise State as a GA, and now he's the head coach. Like, really odd, coach. Like, that's not the normal journey for most head coaches. And you mentioned earlier that you told your wife that, hey, we may be moving in 2 years. Just talk about how fortunate you guys are as both a coach and as a couple with kids, to not have to move all over the country the way a lot of coaches have had to do.
Yeah, Denny, so blessed. Just to your point, so many times in coaching, I mean, you could be 20 places in 22 years. It's just all over the place, families moving, and there's benefits to that. But I know for me and my wife, like, that's not why we got into this. Everything was about having an impact. And when we moved to Boise State to be a GA, I had no idea that a year later, the NCAA was going to go from 9 full-time assistants to 10 full-time assistants. Like, no idea. We just came out here because we felt like God called us here and we got to go. And when we finished that 2017 season, the NCAA came out with the 10 full-time assistants, and Brian Harsin, the head coach at the time, hired me full-time. And I'll never forget that day as long as I live. And seeing just over the years, God just worked things out to where a job gets offered to us, pray about it, don't feel like it's the right move, turn it down. Like, just some of these things that God's been able to orchestrate over the years, to even be in the interim where, I was told, hey, you're not going to get this job. And then by the grace of God, our team, starts to win games, was able to get the head coaching job. Just so many things that the Lord just started working together that in the moment was dark and you had no idea what was going to happen, but just kept walking, kept pushing forward and trusting him. And here we are.
So, pardon me, I don't follow every season of Boise State. I think I'm going to be a new fan this year because we've got to know
you are
a little bit. What was the condition of the team when you took over as interim?
Yeah, so it was 2023, and I was the defensive coordinator, and just a lot of things just weren't going our way. I mean, we have very high expectations here at Boise State, as there should be. We've had, at this point, 27 consecutive winning seasons, which is the longest streak in the country, right? So there's a lot of, for years and years, a high level of what we do, and there was just things weren't going great that season, and on the field, off the field, just things were going great. The AD at the time made a move. And I remember I was in my office meeting with a recruit on a Sunday in season. I get a knock on our door, and it's the assistant AD, and they say, we got to meet with you. I come out of the recruiting meeting. They say, the head coach has been fired. You're the interim head coach, and you need to meet with the team in 1 hour. And it was like, whoa, wow. Like life turned just like this. And at that point, I was on a 2-year contract. That was null and void because we're attached to the head coach and things. So I come home from, meeting with the team and talk with coaches and trying to keep the team together. And my wife's taking pictures off the walls of our home, just weeping. And I'm like, shoot, I haven't really connected with my wife today. Like, you just think of these moments that you kind of screw up along the way. And by the grace of God, our team just focused and went to work. And I remember showing up to work the Monday after that, and our team was watching film. The coaches were working, and went on to win the rest of our games and win the conference championship. And I remember after that conference championship game, we played it down in Vegas, and we get on our plane and our team is dancing. I'm holding the championship trophy. I've got my championship hat on. At this point, still, nobody knows what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no one knows, the coaches or players, what's going to happen. I remember I sit down in my seat next to my wife, our AD, Jeremiah Dickey, who is a absolute 10 out of 10. I think he's the best athletic director in the country. But he sits down next to me, pats me on the shoulder and says, Spence, you did a great job with the team. And we didn't talk the rest of the flight.
Oh, gosh.
And my wife's like, what do you think's going to happen? I'm like, babe, I have no idea, but I guess we'll find out tomorrow. And the next day was so blessed and honored was Dave, the head coach. So it's a crazy ride.
So I was looking at this earlier. When he was named interim, they were 5-5.
Okay.
And correct me if I say anything wrong, Coach. They had lost to UNLV earlier in the year. They rattled off 2 in a row, get to the championship game, beat UNLV, I think, pretty handily. And then, we're talking to a coach that's coached a full year in that 4-game stretch, and he's 15-3. 15-3. Just went to the playoffs. The 3 losses are, 2 bowl games, UCLA and Penn State in the playoffs, and a heartbreaker to Oregon, who was number 1 at the time. So, Coach, on November, whatever that was, I had it written down, November 12th of 2023, when he said, hey, you're probably not going to get the head coaching job. I think you kind of forced his hand by winning too much.
Yeah.
Less than a month later, you're it.
Yeah, the goal was, and I remember telling our staff, like, guys, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I believe grown men finish what they start. That's what I told our team. That's what I told our staff. I said, grown men finish what they start. This is what we got. We got to finish this the right way for our players. And we're going to make it really hard on them. And we went out and rattled off some wins. And I remember the week of the championship game, I talked to some friends and they're like, Spence, I think, this guy's probably going to get the job, or this coach is going to get the job. He interviewed, he's got this great resume, what have you. And I remember it's like midnight on Wednesday before the championship game. And I'm talking with our defensive coordinator now, Eric Shenander, just about my heart and just what I feel God's called me to do here and how we're going to be different here and do it, just rattled off some things. And he's like, you need to tell Jeremiah Dickey, the AD, that. And this is like Wednesday at midnight. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tell him that. Like, I'm going to do that. So the next day I text him. I said, we need to meet. And I've got like bullet points of what we're going to do with this program and what I feel God's called me to do. And he comes in my office and I'm sitting there waiting for him. And I'm sitting down. I say, you can sit right there. He sits down and I just go, boom, like 10 minutes in a row, just bullet point after bullet point. And I'll never forget, right after I'm done, he's like, I got a phone call to make. And he gets up and leaves. And our staff is like in the next room, like, ear to the wall, trying to figure out what's going on. And I walk right in and say, boys, I can promise you one thing. We're for sure not getting this job. But come to find out, even talking with him after, he said that because he's a strong believer, loves the Lord, and he'd been praying for God to kind of pull at his heart. And he said, in that moment on Thursday at noon or whatever it was, he's like, I knew that you were the one that God wanted us to hire.
We talk about culture.
And I knew that you're the guy.
We talk about culture a lot on here.
Well, and I want to suit up right now.
100%. Yeah. But, that culture conversation of when you're hired the interim coach, you got to remember, like, you're walking into a locker room or into a team meeting room with a bunch of guys that head coach recruited.
Yep.
A staff that he assembled, right? Nobody's happy that the guy got fired. I've been in these rooms before. Coach, what did you have to do in that moment to assure the team that things were going to be okay and that the season at that point was not over?
Yeah, great question, Danny. When I first met with them on that Sunday, we had 2 regular season games promised to us. So all I told them was, guys, like I said before, grown men finish what they start, and all I'm asking for is 2 weeks, coaches included. Like, I don't know who's going to be the head coach, because at that point, too, the transfer portal, whenever a head coach is let go, is open, right? So players could have left. Coaches could have said, screw this. I'm going to get my resume ready and spend some time with my family while I still am getting paid. And I just almost just sitting out there, just open arms, like, guys, I'm just asking you to finish what we start and just ask for 2 weeks, because that's what was in my heart. That's all I knew that God called me to do, too. And so I'm not saying it was the right or wrong thing to say, but it was just where my heart was in that moment, because you want answers. When there's hard things going on, everybody wants answers. What's going to happen? What do we do next? It's like, I believe we're called to finish this the right way. And I just wanted to do that right for our players. And I remember just praying like, Lord, I believe I'm called to be the head coach here. If it's not now and if it's another time and there's somebody else for this, but I do know that I'm called to finish this the right way. And that's what we did.
So let me ask you, and you got to answer this. You're not on ESPN. You don't have to give the coach speak answer. But like, what changed? Because it's all the same people. So you're like, you're 500, and then you take over and you go to championship. So I mean, practically, did you change practice? Did you change workouts? Did you something was different? What is it?
Yeah. The big thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to bring a lot more joy to what we were doing. Ooh. I believe you can do really hard things and have a smile on your face. And I think that's the elites in this world that can have a lot of joy while still outworking everybody. Wanted to be extremely efficient, like our practices, cut things out. When the horn hits at practice period, you're moving, and just tried to be as efficient as we could and bring a lot of joy and just say, hey guys, I don't want anybody overthinking this. I wanted coaches to coach free. I wanted players to play free. And at the end of the day, let the chips fall where they may. And those are honestly the biggest things. I just wanted our guys to enjoy coming to work, enjoy coming to the building. And we're going to be efficient. And I asked them, hey, whatever we do, I'm asking for everything you got. When we're done, I'm going to have you get out of here. Like, we're going to be quick, but we're going to do really hard things, but we're going to do it with a smile on our face. That was the biggest thing for me in that end of that season, was just to continue to build into that. Cause I think everybody wants one or the other. Like, I want to have a lot of fun in what I do, but then does that mean you can't work really hard when you do something too? I don't care what job you're in. Like, I believe you can have a lot of joy outworking everybody in the country. Like, I believe that. And that's something that I try to embody every single day.
I'll double down on that. I don't think you can accomplish joy without hard work.
Well, that's how I live my life.
Yeah. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. But Coach, I think it's great to hear that when you're talking to adults, but you were talking to 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, mm-hmm. right? 19 and 20-year-olds who, nothing against them. I work with them, but sometimes logic doesn't work, in those in a locker room with those guys. I think it just shows that you have a very good sense of where you are and who you're talking to. The fact that you're able to take a locker room and rattle off those 3 very important victories, not just for you, but for probably everybody in that locker room as well, coaches, players, everything, to get a whole team of, at the time, which was probably 120, 125 guys plus another 20 guys on the staff, to get behind you for a 3-game stretch is pretty dang impressive.
Yeah, it was, like I said, those moments. And I remember, you were going through this week, and the first game as the interim, we played Utah State at Utah State. And we go out to play them. We're going through and my brother and my wife, they all travel. It's only about a 5-hour drive or whatever to the game. And my wife flew with us, and they come to the game. And I'm like, why are you coming? They're like, because we're going to enjoy this while it lasts. You know what I mean? But they walked around the field, prayed for the field before we played, and we start the game and we get down 10-0 quick. I mean, it was like boom, boom. And I remember being like, golly, Lord, I didn't see this in your plan. You know what I mean? This is different that you showed me. But just seeing that our team just played together. They stuck together. And 3 things that I want to be as a team, and always is play fast, play smart, play together. And they just stayed on those things and ended up winning. I don't know, I think it was like 42-10 or something like that. Like, they went on a roll, and it was fun to be a part of.
Yeah, because when things are chaotic, everybody's looking for a leader. And the leader is not the person that brings certainty. That's what everybody thinks they want. But all a leader can bring is clarity. And the only reason I get to be the leader here is because there's many, many things I'm not good at. But I bring clarity. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to do it. And then people all the time are like, well, what's going to happen? I don't know. I don't know if people are going to show up at that campus. I don't know if people are going to show up at beach baptism. But let me be clear. Here's where we're going, and here's how we're going to get there. Sounds like that's what you do.
Yep.
And that's, again, I just keep fixating, because as I was going through your story last night, Coach, it's just, it is so different than the average coach. Mm-hmm. Because and I didn't know that he didn't come from a background of coaches or anything like that. And then just to have the wherewithal to stand in front of that room and know that whatever you say right then is going to stick to you. I mean, you set the tone for not just finishing out 2023, but for that following season and that opening meeting, because you got a bunch of guys that are going to hold you accountable for what you say. So when you walk in there and you say, hey, listen, we're leaving when the horn's blowing and we're going to bring joy to this, well, you got to do it. And whether you're going to be there for 3 weeks or whether you're going to be there for 15 years, you know, to be able to walk into that room and lay out your plan of attack when you just found out you were getting the job an hour ago, that obviously had been on your mind of if you ever get that opportunity, what you're going to do with it. And then from that point, your whole story up to this point is taking advantage of that opportunity.
Right.
Being prepared.
Right. Yep.
You know, and I think what you're saying, Joby, is that hits, right? Like I can't guarantee you we're going to win, but this is what we are going to do.
So how did you keep players? I mean, in this crazy portal NIL world, and you had a Heisman candidate, right, in the locker room.
Oh, yeah.
So I hope when you were down by 10, you'd hand it to him a lot.
No question. No question.
That helped.
That's really good coaching. You know what I mean? That's really good coaching. Yeah.
But how did you keep people? How did you keep your coaches? How did you keep your players, especially those stars that took you to a championship?
Yeah. I mean, that is the biggest thing in college football right now is keeping especially for us, we're a developmental program. Like we want to take guys as an 18-year-old coming out of high school, and maybe there's something that another school doesn't like, whatever. We want guys that are wired the right way. Like we talk a lot about talent sets the floor, character sets the ceiling. Like I want guys, hire the talent, no question, but character sets the ceiling. Like what is character? I mean, loves football. No one's going to outwork him, right? You can go through those traits. And so when you find the right guys, then it's our job to make sure, and our two biggest things is that every day our players know they are loved and cared for way more than just football players. Like I care about you when you're 32 years old doing whatever else God has for you, but know they're loved and cared for, and then know they are developed here more than anywhere else. So that's been the two things that I've tried to double down on, making sure our players feel that. Because in this landscape, and I've talked about this before, is there's a lot of money being thrown around out there, right? If you leave blank school to go to here, you can make this money. If you blah, blah, blah. And money is a part of this. And I make no bones about it. Like no different for my job, anyone's job, there's money a part of this. But are you chasing currency or are you chasing value? Mm-hmm. And I talk to our team and staff about this. And I talk to myself, like, if you're just chasing currency, this ain't going to be the spot for you. We're not going to be able to develop you to be the best version of yourself. But if you are chasing value, which, yes, currency is a part of this, but there needs to be a lot of other value that you see with being here more than just money, right? Ashton Genty saw a lot of value being at Boise State, way more than just the dollar sign, no different than Ahmed Hossein or Alexander Tubner or these other guys that even this next season, we've had another group of 15 to probably 20 players that have been called to leave Boise State for this or that. And they see the value in being here. And that's something that we need to make sure as coaches that we're growing our players' spirit, soul, and body every day so that we are making sure we're handling our side of the bargain when our players stay here to be developed.
And Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember right, didn't you lose a quarterback? I think quarterback transferred, Arkansas, I believe. And good player, right? Really good athlete, good player.
That'd be to go to Arkansas.
And then the following year, I mean, you make the playoff, and we brought up, Genty, and I want to get into just what makes him special in a second. But going into last year, after you finished the year 3-1, and you're able to retain, the majority of your roster, was that the goal? Was the playoffs? Because I do believe that's the thing that the playoffs now has done is it has opened up, right? There's a lot of teams that are going to report for camp in a couple of weeks, and their legitimate goal can be to make a playoff, whereas a couple of years ago which
is awesome.
Yeah.
It makes it so much better.
No doubt. And I don't think it doesn't belittle the regular season at all. We've talked about it.
No, it expands it because now in the middle of November, it's not over.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, right? Like, as a raving Georgia SEC fan, it's the end of November, and there's still like 3 or 4 different ways that a couple of different teams can get in.
Well, even, under the old system, even down to, we're in media day time now. If you start out the year outside of the top 25 and you don't have a certain type of schedule, like that's a problem. Doesn't matter if you win all your games. Like, I mean, you guys have dealt with some of that in the past at Boise State. Did you think y'all had the type of team that could make a playoff push last year when you were hired the previous December?
Yeah, I really did. And now, to your point, Denny, like I think everybody in the country in the offseason feels like this is the year, right? I don't think anybody goes in like, all right, boys, buckle up. It's about to be a bad year. Like I felt that way. I knew from a talent standpoint, and I also have been around these players, so I knew the type of work that they were about to put in. I knew the type of strain they were going to give to achieve these things. And our team would talk about it. Our media, I mean, we've got our fan base is, I think, second to none. I mean, we sell at every single home game. Like, they love their team. They're going to tell our players kind of what they see this season being. And you know, the playoff was talked about as the first year that it was happening and all these things. What I'm so proud of our team is they just went to work. I believe what you do in the dark comes to light. And our team, when no one was around, worked their tail off. And Ashton Genty, when no one was tweeting about him as much as they do now, he was working. And that's how you achieve everything in life. And that's why a big thing for me, even this off season, is process over outcome. Because you have these outcomes that you want: playoff, championship, NFL player, fill in the blank. The only way you're going to achieve them is your process. So that's been something, Denny, with all these expectations of the playoff and national championship or whatever those are for your team, which especially at Boise State, that's why you come here. My job as the leader, to your point, Pastor Joby, is to give clarity to this is our process every single day. We got to make sure we have the best July 15th, because July 16th, we'll cross that bridge when we'll get there. Like, this is where we're at now.
Coach, I know that everybody thinks right now that they're going to go to the playoffs, but I also know that back in, January, February, when the dust had settled from transfer portal and all that, the coaches get together and they go, you know what? We got a problem here. Yeah. Like, there's one or two positions where we could get exposed, right? And I've been around the game enough to know that the teams that are good are the ones that don't run from that, Coach. They're the ones that just, they're honest about it, and we're going to outwork, and we're going to figure this thing out together. And the answer is not on another team. It's right here in this locker room. And when you're at Boise State, the reality of this thing is there's $30 million rosters out there. I don't think Boise State's filled in a $30 million roster. You have to do that, don't you? And can you talk about, not naming the positions maybe, but can you talk about how you guys kind of attacked that? Because you guys knew you were good at running back, but maybe there's some other positions that as a staff you guys really had to lean into, and I don't think that gets talked about enough. Can you talk about how as a staff you deal with that?
Yeah, try to, Denny, as much as we can as a staff, prep for that too, right? So we went into last season knowing for the 2025 season, this is where we're going to need, because of either seniors or just for whatever reason, maybe there's a really high profile player that it's going to be hard to keep in this landscape. We got to be ready to have the number 2 ready to roll. So try to do a really good job prepping for it. And then in January, a big push, is to get to one transfer portal, which hopefully comes about, because you got the one right after. I mean, we get done with the Fiesta Bowl and transfer portal's open, so there's no rest. You're trying to continue to make sure our players see the value here. And then you go through spring ball, and there's another transfer portal in April. So even going through spring ball, you don't really truly know who's on your team yet, right? So you got to be really good. We have a great staff that you got to be constantly in those, in those spaces. So going into this season, we knew, like, just for example, we had a really senior heavy defensive line. So we know we needed the guys that need to step up on our team. We knew we needed to go look for a junior college or even we just knew kind of the spaces that we need to grow and build up. And we also were very intentional with our players last season that maybe they weren't going to be needed a lot last season, but man, we knew we were going to need them now. And we couldn't wait till January. We needed to get them in some games, cut their teeth, because we knew come 2025, it's their time, and they got to carry the flag now. So recruiting's a big part of it. Being intentional with it. We're not a huge transfer portal recruiting team. Like, I believe we will recruit the transfer portal to find the right fit for us, but it has to be the right fit. We're a developmental team, so our best players usually are the ones that we have time to build into, to develop them on and off the field. I mean, we got an offensive lineman this year, Cage Casey, that's going to be one of the best offensive linemen in the country, that came to us at 6'5", 260. Now he's 6'6", 315, right? But it takes time. It takes time to get them to where you are. And so kind of a long-winded answer to your question, Danny, but I try to be very proactive about it to know, okay, what are some positions that we know we got to really be intentional to fill and develop, but making sure that we look at our roster first and where we can kind of push those guys. I mean, I'll move guys. I'll move DB to receiver and D line to O line. Like we're old school, man. We're gonna find the best. I joke with our team. I only need 11. We go both ways down here.
I think it's one of the coolest things, man. You go to one of these practices in the spring, and you can see who the freshmen are.
Yeah.
Like, it is very obvious. Like, they look like coat hangers. I mean, it's like uniform hanging off of them, and then you see a guy that's been there 4 years, and they've put on 50, 60 pounds, and it's just like, man, this grind works, and we talk about it all the time. You're one thing when you go into college, you're a whole different thing when you come home for Christmas.
Yeah, and it's not just weight, dude. It's like bone density and ligaments grow, right. And everybody wants to be strong. Nobody wants to be sore. You got to get in that weight room and
That's
build.
The one. That's been sent to our entire team. Don't get that twisted.
Let's go.
Isn't that like an example of our Christian walk, though? Like, isn't that like you just use those muscles? I thought, the Ike Bucker episode, he talked about this. Like, it's using those muscles, and that's really what we're talking about. We all come in, young, inexperienced, small. At least we feel that way. And then you just start using that muscle, and you just grow and grow and grow. And then you get guys like you guys have in the locker room that have been there for 3, 4, 5 years that lead these guys on. And next thing you know, they're leading the next generation and so forth and so on. It really is a perfect picture of what we're supposed to do as men in our walk with God as well.
Well, that's the key in a healthy church. What a healthy church ought to be is some people that don't even know Jesus yet, that are showing up for the first time just because they've been invited, some like really, really mature believers, everything in between. But you're not looking down at the immature believer because they make immature mistakes, because that's what immature people do. But we are supposed to be, those of us that have been walking with the Lord for a minute, are supposed to be like, hey, man, we're on the same team. We have the same goal. We have an enemy. It's not each other. And it is up to us to be discipling and raising up this upcoming generation, so when it's their turn to get in the game, they're ready to roll.
I remember talking to a coach a while back, and we were talking about a kid that we were training. He was a high school kid, and the coach said to me, he's like, man, I just don't like his size. Like, he's 16. He's 16 years old. What do you mean you don't like his size? Like, I mean, are y'all not going to lift? Are y'all not going to grow? And I do. I remember, because I was sitting in my truck, and I remember sitting there thinking at that time, I'm like, man, I am that 16-year-old in my Christian walk. And what I need, and that's what you guys have been at this church, is I need a coach that has coached and developed 16-year-olds to become Christian men. And that's what I need to be around. And when we're talking to Coach Danielson here, you can just see that's the blueprint, right, Coach? It's physically, mentally, spiritually. These guys are young. They come from different parts of the country, different upbringings. Talk about the rewards you get when you see a guy that comes through, and 4 and 5 years later, he is a different human being, and you played a small role in that.
Yeah, Danny, that's my why. That's why I do what I do, is to see them when they come here at 16, 17 years old, and when they graduate from here, be ready for life. And that's where we talk about being built different at Boise State. Like, that's building champions on and off the field by doing common things in an uncommon way. Like, that's our program. And to me, that's my why. I get judged on 12 nights a year, right? That's the reality of a football coach. And there's no running from that. But I know at some point, like it says in the book of Luke, too much is given, much is required. Like, that's what I'm going to answer for, is how those young men are in life, and in all facets, spirit, soul, and body.
Here's the problem that Coach has, is what he just said. I 100% believe is true in Spencer Danielson's life.
Correct.
But it is the same thing that every coach that sits at a mom and dad's living room says. And it's used for, recruiting purposes. Coach, can you talk about that side? Just the recruiting side, and the fact that, you're recruiting very young kids. Parents are handing them off at a young age to you. And everybody walks in, saying that same thing. How are the ways that you differentiate yourself in that living room, and what are the ways that you feel like you show that you mean that? Because you've only got a year and a half under you on this.
Right. Yeah, I tell every parent I talk to, every recruit, like, everything I tell you, I want you to research too. Like, every other school you go to, look at the facts. Like if someone says, I'm going to be here forever to coach you, but he's been 10 spots in 10 years, he's probably lying to you, right? Like, or if anybody tells you're going to start as a freshman, they're either a really bad football team or they're lying to you, right? Like, so I try to be, even the things I tell players or families, like, please do your research. Because in this space, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on, to your point, Denny, where it's just, you got to research everything. For me, I try to be very open about who I am. One of the first things I talk to a parent about are the 3 things I talked about earlier: love Jesus, work hard, treat people right. Like I tell them, this is me. This is not Boise State. This is the head coach, Spencer Danielson, 36, father of 3. This is me. And I'm positive, high energy all the time. If you don't like it, I'm that way all the time. So don't come here, right? Like this is me. And I just try to be very clear about who we are. And then I talk about what our culture is. And I try to back it up with the facts of who we are, right? You talk about being a developmental team. I point to facts of how we are. These are the players that have come to us as freshmen and have developed. Like we've been here for this. Mm-hmm. I've been here for 9 years. We didn't lose one full-time assistant this offseason.
Wow.
Right? Like that's a point to continuity. So if you talk about people want to be here, like that's a point to it. Our offensive coordinator stepped down. He's a senior analyst. We hired a quarterbacks coach. That was it. Right? So I try to point to facts because to your point, Denny, everybody's going to talk about we want to build and a lot of that's not happening in college football. That's where built different is who we are. Like I want to be a light on a hill. I want to do football different, and I want to do it God's way. And I believe in what we do. And I think, but just like anything, like we define culture here as how you act, how you interact, and how you respond. Right? Like that's culture. And people throw that around. That's Boise State culture. Or that's blank culture. Like, but if we don't act that way, if I don't interact with our players that way, and when bad things come, we don't respond that way, I'm lying to you. That's a cool PowerPoint, sweet graphic, dude. But nothing, that's not us. So I try to show recruits this is our culture and then point to the facts of it. And then as much as we can, get players on campus to be around our teams so they can feel it.
Yeah, culture is also what you allow.
Agreed.
So if you allow things that are outside of your culture, that is not actually your culture. Even if the coach and the assistant coach and the offensive coordinator are doing these things, but you're allowing that one guy because he's a 5-star to do something else, then it exposes what your actual culture is.
That's good.
Well,
that's true.
I mean, not losing, going to the playoffs and not losing an assistant coach is one of the most impressive things I've heard all offseason. I mean, because you're in a job that your goal is to get to the next job. Like if you're not a head coach. Coach, that's a huge blessing and a huge testament to the culture that you have built there.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going, we win the championship game. We're going, prepping for the Fiesta Bowl. And I have coaches come in and say, Spence, just so you know, like this job called and offered me it. I turned it down. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm like, you want to talk about it more? Like, you sure?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, like I'm about what we're doing here. Like we had a head coach get offered an FBS Division I head coaching job and didn't even go interview for it. Said, no, I'm good.
Wow.
Like I'm about what we're doing here. And that is just, it inspires me to make sure I'm my best for our staff and our players every day too.
What's the hardest part about being a college football head coach right now these days? Like what's the part that maybe we don't see that just, keeps you up at night and is just something that is a struggle to deal with on a consistent basis?
It's a good question, Danny. I would say the hardest thing for me in this space is kind of the transfer portal side of football. How I'm wired, I love deeply. Like that's just who I am. Like I don't do surface level relationships. Like I'm not the text you how you like I'm a when I love you, I'm going to give you my entire heart and being. And with players that have left or even on the fence about leaving, like that's hard for me because I love these kids and staff. Like I can't, and I never want to do this to where it's just jersey number 2, jersey number 15. Like when I get to that point, to me, I ain't gonna do the same. I'm gonna go bundle home and auto insurance in Boise, Idaho. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the hardest thing for me. There's things that come up that you got to deal with on a daily basis. Everybody's got their job. That's the one that's hard for me going through some of those things.
Listening to him say that, it made me think of something because everybody talks about the hardest thing about coaching is moving around and going up and things like that. And we just talked about Coach Danielson's marriage and Rachel, and I've got a similar thing in that, you know, my wife gets really close with these guys. They're young guys. They work hard.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a relationship. And when you have that, it almost holds your own face to the mirror, because you're going like, wait, what am I doing this for? Because my wife gets attached to these guys as human beings and gets that motherly instinct.
Good.
And at times can check me, coach, and go, okay, this thing ain't about performance because my wife's right on this. Right. And what is best for this kid? Can you speak into that a little bit on just not only how hard it is for a coach's wife, but the impact that the coach's wife can have on the coach through her words and her actions about players and things that she sees going in the program that maybe you're not wired the same way she is to see it the same way?
Yeah, it's my wife, Rachel, gives me such a good perspective that I'll miss, and she'll see it from a lens because she's just very different than me. That's why we work well together. Her number one love language is quality time, right? So she wants to be around people and get to know them. And so I have my wife, and we got a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4-month-old. So we got little ones that we'll bring out to practice and have around. Yeah, we're in baby jail right now, fellas. So get your mind right. But just to your point, Danny, like I want my wife and our kids around, because I also want our players to see me as a father. Now I better do a good job too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want them to see me as a father. I want them to see me with my wife, because I have a lot of meetings with our players about treating women the right way, right? What does date to marry look like? Like the first time I talked about it, was like, whoa, what are we? Because it's different than our culture talks about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm telling my guys, I've made a lot of mistakes. I'm trying to keep you from that. And my wife just gives me such good perspective on where players are at. And we'll have players over the house a ton, and our coaches do the same. I want our coaches and their kids to be around a lot, because I want everything to be blended. And what we do, it can't be work and home. If it was work and home, this wouldn't work. It needs to be blended. It needs to be just one big moving family. And that's what we try our best to do, because to your point, Denny, like she gives me so much amazing perspective that I miss.
Well, I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from with that too, Coach. Is a couple years ago, we had a guy that had been part of our program forever. High recruit. Everybody just assumed was going to work out, and it didn't. It happens, right? And I'm telling my wife, and it's just not going to work out for this kid. And she's like, well, what's next? I'm like, well, I don't know. And she's like, well, you got to figure it out. I'm like, well, I know I just said it's not going to work out as a quarterback for this guy. She's like, well, we need to have him over and we need to figure this thing out. And it really was a moment where it was like, you know what? She's 100% right. This kid trusted me and it just didn't work out. The odds aren't in our favor all the time. And that's when I realized, like, my wife being involved in this is such a blessing for me.
Yep.
Because I will get just so focused on, we got to have a first rounder, we got to have a second rounder, we got to have a 10-year vet, we got to have. That's not what this thing's about. That's not what it's about. And so that's why I asked that question, Coach.
Coach, we tell our staff all the time, we care more about how you're doing than what you're doing. Because if I hire right, for you, if you recruit right, and you get the how you're doing right, then the what you're doing is going to be just fine. People can run fast and tackle and memorize plays, right? But if they're if you only care about what they're doing, they will figure that out very, very quickly. Because nobody wants to be an extra in the grand saga of your own life, And so we're very, very, very serious about that. And now, if you can't do what you need to do, then we don't have the right people, and you have to deal with that.
Right.
And nothing exposes that more than sports. But when you've got the right people, and you care more about how they're doing, then they will perform. But you really just care about them, and you're just helping them be the best version of them that God had in mind when he created them. And there's so much freedom in that. There's so much freedom in that. Because then you're not controlling and manipulating and pulling strings.
Yeah.
You're just trying to help people be who God's called them to be.
You're so right on that. You are so right on that. That does open up a whole new plethora of options.
Right.
When you allow somebody to be who they are and just be what they need to be for them, you're 100% right.
So, Coach, the reason Danny's the GOAT when it comes to quarterbacks, think about the number of pro quarterbacks he's training right now. He's got quarterbacks everywhere. But when we're talking offline, he rarely talks about what they're doing. He's always talking about how they're doing, who they are, what they love, how much he loves them. They were just at the house. And it is. I mean, that matters so much. And I think the reason you're recruiting the level of athletes that you are is because they sense that when they sit across from you. I don't feel like a project. I feel like a person. And I'm telling you, before that dude's a football player, he's a boy becoming a man. And what every young man needs is an older man to bestow manhood upon him. And so they're looking for a man, not they don't just need a general that's just going to make them do stuff and use them. And, they need, and that's what a coach is, man. In fact, I mean, I coached my son's team for 3 years and there's a season there, and especially in college for sure, but even in high school, where the coaches spend way more times with the kids than their parents do. It's not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I see our guys a lot more than they see at times of the year, more than they see their parents, their wife, or whoever it is. Like it is what it is, Coach. And props to you, man, because if going in able to win back-to-back Mountain West championships as an interim coach, you're obviously doing that part right. You obviously have the trust of your team at the very least.
Yeah, and it's something you're always looking at. And I love even what you said earlier, Pastor Joby, about culture is what you allow, because it's something that I think you constantly got to be evaluating your culture and how you're doing. And is there better ways to do it? Or what are some things that maybe I think we are that I'm not? So this has been just a great conversation for me to continue to think about these things, because you constantly got to poke and prod to make sure that you're consistently doing it the right way.
So, Coach, I want to ask about this. You become the head coach. And now all of a sudden, they don't interview the defensive coordinators very often, right? You're the head coach. So now you're the face of the program. There's a camera in your face after every game, especially the wins. And you make the bold decision to not kind of wink or hint at the man upstairs, but you boldly declare Christ like I've rarely seen. So I have I've got 25 video clips of you that have been sent to me for the past year and a half because of you just not kind of skirting around it and be like, hey, I'd like to thank God. But I mean, just directly pointing to Jesus, talking about Jesus, sharing the gospel. You got players up there talking about that man led me to Christ. Talk about that. What was going on in your mind when you said, this is how I'm going, this is what the reporters can expect when they ask me questions?
Yeah, Pastor Joby. I mean, I truly believe in my heart that God has called me here, right? For like it says in the book of Esther, like God's called me to this kingdom for such a time as this. Like I believe that. And especially through what we were talking about earlier, the different things from a GA to getting fired and I'm the interim and then getting the job, like how God has been able to orchestrate all these things out. It is not because I'm so cool, so smart, so awesome that I'm the head coach. I know God has put me here, and I do not want to miss the moment to have an impact. And so when I have an opportunity to thank Jesus, and I believe there's so much power in his name, Amen. Like I'm going to do it. And there's people that don't like it. There's people, and that's okay. And I tell them, you haven't seen nothing yet. Like I just know that like when this thing's all said and done for me, I don't want to think, man, I wish maybe I had a bigger impact. I'm going to overthink maybe going forward on 4th and 1 when I should have or shouldn't have. I'm going to overthink some of those things. Cool. I don't want to miss that. And that's my heart. And it's one of those things, even on our team, like our staff, there's probably 50-50 of our staff that are believers to not. Our team itself has Christians, LDS, Muslim, people that want nothing at this point in their life to maybe know about God yet, but all are welcome and loved here. And I need to show them who Jesus is. And I want them to have a foundation that's not football. So long-winded answer your question, Pastor Joey, but it's something I am not going to miss an opportunity to have an impact and give God the glory, because that is the only reason I'm sitting here.
Yeah. I think when you get this thing right, even if people don't believe what you believe, they want to hire Christians because they're people of character and integrity. They do what they're going to say. They don't lie. They forgive. They love. There's grace. They work as unto the Lord. So they better be outworking everybody else. I mean, if Christians all over America got this thing right, every employee in America, every mama would want their boy to go play for you. Every employee would say, hey, listen, make sure you hire some Christians. Why? Because they get here on time. They never steal. They don't leave early. Like they work as if this was bigger than just the job that we have. So good on you for that.
And I'll talk to your point, Pastor Joby. I'll talk with parents that I know have been open about that they're not believers or not into religion at this point. And I tell them the reason you want your son to come here is because when my head hits the pillow, I think about your son because of Jesus.
Yeah.
Not the other way around.
Let's go.
Oh, man.
That's so good.
Dude. I bet actually there'll probably be some players that you will pick up that you wouldn't because they just want to come play for a godly man. I mean, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm about to send him my 14-year-old's film.
Let's go. Yeah, if you need quarterbacks, I got it
right there, man. I mean, that's so good.
This might just be used as a recruiting tape.
That's so good, and he means it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, that's the thing. He's on a Christian podcast with us. He means that. And Coach, I don't mean to keep going back to that, but it's the world that we both live in. Is recruiting is the lifeblood of a program, and there's coaches that will say anything to get a guy there. And I just, when you hear him, you can tell he's convicted by this. This is the goal. This is the why. Now I have to ask this though: your whys and your goals and your locker room and your culture when you're 15-3. That's fairly easy to maintain. Have you? I hope maybe not, and I hope this don't happen. But is it still going to be the same Coach Spencer Danielson if there comes a 3-game slide? And how are you prepared, and how do you prepare your guys for things like that?
Yeah, great question, Danny. I think just like anything, and I get asked this a lot, even in regards to me thanking Jesus. Like, oh, you thank Jesus after you lose? Like, I will, because that's who I am. And just because when hard times come, if I change and run from that, then all this is fake. All this is a facade. Everything I just talked about, you might as well throw it out. And so you kind of prep yourself for even the hard times. And even for our staff, for our players, I think so much of life, I'm not even saying college football, life is responding to adversity. Like the elites know how to respond. They don't change everything. That they change the things they need to that maybe got them to lose a game. Like, you can't run from the truth of it. But when things go bad, look at like, okay, everything we did to this point is screwed up and we got to change everything. I think that you lose your team when you start doing those things. I believe in what we do here. Like, I believe in now. When things, trust me, even through the summertime, there's been things that we've done really well, some things that I've had to fix and had to pivot on. Hey, I thought something was really good. It wasn't. Hey, guys, that's on me. Mm-hmm. We're going to pivot. We're going to do something different and take ownership as a leader. No different than the Penn State game. I mean, that's the only Fiesta Bowl that Boise State's ever lost. And trust me, I've heard that a lot over the past 6 months. I'm going to take ownership of that and know, hey, you're right. We didn't execute in critical moments, and I got to look at why to get it fixed, to make sure when we're in that moment, and we will be, to be better. So I think it's easy to say what you will be when conflict comes. But I know, pointing to a lot of the things that we've been through here prior and who I am, that I know that continue to stay true to who I am, growing every day, and things that we don't do well, we have to do better when they do show up. But I think staying true to who you are is true leadership. I think consistency is one of the biggest things as a leader.
I love college football from this aspect. It's so production driven. Football, all of us, everybody that has a job is production driven.
Sure,
right? But college football, like, you can hear things, and I'll use these two because we're in Florida. I remember when Georgia let go of Mark Richt. Mm-hmm. I remember when Florida let go of Will Muschamp. And I remember those two press conferences really well, because I remember the AD standing up and going, these are incredible men who were everything that we could have asked for at this university. We want our kids to play here. They just went on and on and on, but we're moving on. And
Coach Richt won 10 games the year they fired him.
It is just it can change.
But they thought they could get Kirby.
But my point in that is, like, it didn't change Coach Richt.
No, dude.
Still the same human being that he was.
Even better.
Then. Right, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I know his son, and they're amazing human being as well. It's just such a weird job, because I think everybody acknowledges how important all that is at this level and at this age group. But at the same time, you have the success of a school, because football does drive a lot of economic factors at a school.
For sure.
You have boosters, you have buildings, you have everything right there that requires you to be productive and win. And I love that because it makes it about the scoreboard a little bit as well, Coach. Can you talk about just that mixture and how you kind of walk that line? You mentioned earlier you can be a Christian and you can be a bad guy. Now you can do you can win some football games as a Christian.
Saved, not soft.
That's right. That's right. So can you talk about that line and understanding that you're in a business that you have to produce results?
Yeah, save not soft, like Pastor Joby said. I've used his line a lot over the years. But I mean, it was even, me and Pastor Joby were Zooming, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. And I remember that's one of the first things he said, like, Spence, let's also not get this twisted. You have to win.
Yes.
Because all this thanking Jesus and all that's great. But the second you lose games and you get fired, no one's calling to interview you anymore. You know what I mean? That's a reality of the space and our job. And so, but I mean, I believe we're called to excellence as a Christian too. I mean, it says in 1 Corinthians, run the race to win. I don't see anything about our champion not coming off the cross, and I tell our team that, like, there's sometimes a mix, in my opinion. Maybe I'm off. You guys would know more than me, where sometimes as Christians or even just as adults, it's kind of like this. Yeah, we'll see if God wants us to figure it out or be successful. And it's like, yeah, but you haven't done anything. You haven't made the call or been the first one in the building, last to leave. Like there's a work ethic side of life that I think can be lost. And I believe in working like it depends on me, pray like it depends on God. And there's a space. I mean, as a competitor, competition is one of our core values. And we define that as urgency to win in everything. Like, you're playing me in chess, I'm going to try to kill you, right? Like, that's a mentality that you want to have in life. And I think that's what the game of football teaches you. Because if you lose too many times, if I lose too many times as a husband, Rachel's going to say, no mas. Like, that's happening, right? No different times as a father, right? So the drive to win in college football should be no different than the drive to win for our players when they're taking a biology test or anything else. And so I try to encapsulate it in everything because it's a very transactional job. Like I said, I get judged on 12 nights a year, period.
Yeah, we tell our team all the time, listen, guys, you guys are saved by grace. You are not employed by grace. You have a job to do, and this matters. Mm-hmm. It matters a lot. Yeah, that's the conversation. Honestly, our conversation was very similar to the one I had with Brock early. I know you want to leverage your platform for the glory of God. Praise God for that. These are not either or. That the thing that should drive you to be a winning coach is so that you get to do this a long time, so you get to impact more men, so that you get to speak to more people about Jesus, I mean, honestly, the same thing here. If they were like, boy, Joby sure is a nice guy, but he can't preach a lick and we hadn't baptized anybody in 6 years, guess what? I'm gone, bro. They're going to go to the portal and bring in the next, as they should.
That's right.
As they should. You don't get paid by grace, man.
Can we double down on that as a group here? And yeah. Because I don't know if you guys get this, but I get it all the time. It's well, why are you doing more? Like, why are you doing more? Why Joby, you have how many people come to this campus every single week? Thousands and thousands and thousands at this San Pablo campus. Why are you opening more campuses? Then you're doing well training quarterbacks. Why are you getting in podcasts and why are you getting in that? Coach, whatever it is for you, right? Y'all just went to the playoffs. Coach, why are you pushing so hard to get further and further and further in the playoffs? Why are you taking those risks? Well, because that's what we're called to do.
No doubt.
Right? That's my pet peeve, right? It's my pet peeve is when you get around guys and it's like, well, God didn't have it. That wasn't meant for me. Like, bro, I saw you barely worked at it. You barely worked at it. You didn't take any risk. You didn't show any trust at all in any type of plan. You played it safe, and this is where you're at, right? And I think, Coach, a lot of times you can see that. You can see that in college football. You can see that in the way guys run their programs, run their churches, run their businesses, run their homes. And that's one of the things that I just love about college football and football in general. You can't do that very long.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it aggravates life out of me. But when people are like, oh, yeah, it must be nice.
Yeah.
It must be nice to be a head football coach of a Division I school that goes to playoffs. Must be nice to train a bunch of quarterbacks. Must be nice to get to pastor the fastest growing church in America. Oh, yeah, it's nice. Yeah. You have no idea like what it takes to just find yourself one day in the place that God had for you. Listen, man, if David was not grinding in the pasture, learning how to play the harp and throw that rock and kill lions and bears, and guess what happens when he walks out there to face Goliath? He ain't king ever. And so to look at David
right.
and be like, must be nice to be the king, that brother has been grinding in the pasture so that when God gave him an opportunity, he was ready. And that's what you've been doing. Even though, 7 years relatively might sound short to get to be the head coach, but honestly, it started all the way back when you're playing, linebacker at high school or whatever. You were grinding then, you're grinding in college, and then you just did not waste the opportunity. Look, there's people that make excuses and people that make a difference. Those are never the same people. Never the same.
That's good. That's good.
I have realized later in life that if I don't need God to get through my day,
for sure,
I am not doing enough. If I feel like I can go on autopilot and I don't need every single day God's grace and God's strength and all that kind of stuff to just be able to do what he has called me to do, then I'm not doing what he's called me to do. I'm doing what I want to do. Right. And that's
so true.
Yeah, that is rung true with me recently. And so, Coach, you hit a hot spot when you said that. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent.
But that's life too. That's why we talked about this offseason with our team, and I was speaking to myself too. You can't start halfway up the mountain. Like, greatness never goes on sale, man. Just keep going. Like, you got to, and everyone looks for shortcuts and everything, or to your point, Pastor Joby, must be nice. Like, what about at the bottom of the mountain when it was raining and snowing and my feet were blistering? Like, don't forget those moments either now, Tim.
And especially in college football, you do not have the same team you had last year. It is very different than it's very different than NFL. You do not have the same team. It is a new team. And I know Coach Saban would say that. I know Coach Smart would say that when they would be like, "Oh, you're national champions." He's like, "No, that last year's team was national champion. This year's team ain't a national champion.
That's right.
These are not the same boys. These are different human beings, and we're playing different human beings, and we've got work to do."
That's right.
Well, imagine that, and I'm going to give you some stats here. This game by game. This is what Coach has to replace here.
Okay, let's go.
All right. 267 yards, 192 yards, 127, 259, 186, 217, 128, 149, 209, 159, 169,
Yeah, you can stop there, Denny. Appreciate it. I'm not going to sleep tonight.
It's not the same team.
Right.
It's not the same team, right? Coach, talk about that guy right there, Ashton Genty. I got a chance to see him in a walking brick. Coach, talk about being able to coach him and what he was able to do last year.
Yeah, Ashton, he's a better person than he is a football player. Let me start by saying that too. A guy that will get 34 carries on Saturday night, and you will not find a guy work harder at practice on Tuesday. If that scout team linebacker ain't showing up in the hole, he'll be the first one to go find him. Like, that's just who he is. And I think that's where, almost like we just talked about, everybody wants to be Ashton, but not everybody wants to do what Ashton does. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's who he is. When I was the interim head coach, got named the head coach, and Ashton is open about staying here, we do our off-season workouts, and it's snowing, and we did a tug-of-war competition in January on the snow. Ashton Genty takes his shirt off and beats everybody on the team, right? That's who he is, man. And so when you see what he was able to do last season, you talk about a guy that loves his team, and even with all the publicity, everything we talked about was about the team. We had a walkthrough in fall camp, and I remember at the end of it, he was waiting for me at the end of the field, and I could tell he was frustrated. And I'm like, "Ash, what's going on, bro?" And he's, "Coach, I need you to set a players-only meeting tomorrow because our urgency tonight in this walkthrough, wasn't it. I got to get this fixed." And I'm sitting there as the head coach, you better believe I'm setting that players-only meeting tomorrow. And he went in there and got it fixed. That's just who he is as a person. You talk about as a football player. I think he was the best football player in the country last season, second to none. And he is even a better person off of it. And I believe the Raiders got the absolute man.
Josh Wells told us that even when Tom Brady left Tampa Bay, he left a lot there. He left a legacy there that changed a franchise. Do you see that with Ashton Genty? Do you see the way that he affected guys that you can see now as this new team is developing and forming?
Yeah, absolutely. That was something that Ashton was very open about, was I'm going to leave a legacy here at Boise State. That is what, not only the yards and what I do on the field, I'm going to leave a legacy here. And I can see there's players on our team now that were maybe freshmen last year or sophomores or juniors that are different people now because of Ashton, because of how he worked. Like they saw, oh, that's what it takes to be successful. Then I got to go do the same. We got a young running back who I think is going to be really good in Sire Gaines. And he is training at a level now because of who Ashton was to him. Right. And I think that's the legacy that you leave. And that's something that him and our seniors, but especially him, because of all the publicity and what it is, especially in the space where you can leave and at any point and all these kind of transactional parts of college football. When you have a young man that puts his foot down and says, I can accomplish everything I want right here at Boise State, and now he's the second highest paid running back, I think, in history. Mm-hmm. He made the best financial decision to stay at Boise State and be developed. I think those are just some things that I think are amazing.
What an amazing opportunity for that young running back that you've got, but also what an amazing responsibility that young running back has.
No doubt.
Not to perform, not to put up the numbers I just said, but you can't let that legacy die with you. You got to carry that on to the next person and the next person and the next person. That thing can live on for decades, Coach.
That's right.
I mean, that's what Georgia's doing. That's what Alabama's doing. There's an expectation. There's a standard. We hear that word standard all the time. But, I don't know. I think there's only so much of a standard a coach can put. When you're 18 years old and you're seeing a 21-year-old grind who's already got everything and is already going to be a first-round pick, and it's week 10, and he is still running as hard as he can and calling coaches or players-only meeting, you can't.
Here's something I think about this all the time. Josh Wells, he goes to church here. He played for the Jags. Then he played for the Bucks when they won the Super Bowl. But he was there a couple years before Brady came. And so he plays swing tackle, and he says when Brady walked in the locker room, I mean, this is Tom Brady, okay? First of all, he walks up to everybody. He's like, hi, I'm Tom. They're just like, oh, hi, Tom. What do you do, punt? I mean, come on. Right. So he walks up to everybody with such humanity. But then Josh says when Brady entered the locker room, entered the field, the level of expectation went 10x. And then simultaneous, because he was there, our confidence that we could achieve it went there too. And then Josh began to say, so what happens when I walk in my house? Do people think, oh, we're better because Dad's here and we can accomplish it because Dad's here? I think about that all the time. I want to be the kind of pastor that my team and our people are like, we actually believe we can accomplish what God has called us to. And I want to play a significant role, but not just raise the bar for me, but bring the whole team along and the confidence come along with it because I'm helping people go where they need to go.
True leadership.
So good.
Yeah.
True leadership.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep. And the thing you can't do in that situation is you can't ruin that trust. You have to do the things that you say you're going to do, or it's, you're disqualified from leadership when you start lying.
100%. 100%.
Yep. Well, Coach, I'm sorry we've kept you so long, man. We didn't mean to keep you
awesome.
so long, but
I can do this all day.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I don't have to stop. We can keep going, but I do want to ask you this one question, and you can take this wherever you want. When this thing's all said and done, you're young, you're 36 years old. When this thing is all said and done, what's your goal? Like when you look at this and you're the head coach of Boise State, and you fast forward how many every years you're going to do this, when you sit down on your back porch, what do you want to think about? What do you want people to think about you?
That's a great question, Denny. Our head strength coach, Ben Hilgard, who's a stud, he actually looks like Pastor Joby. Not quite as big enough arms as Pastor Joby, but he's getting there. But he says a line to our team a lot where when you're born, you look like your parents. When you die, you look like your choices.
Let's go.
And it's something that I think about a lot for myself with getting into this profession and now as a father, a 3, and what God's called us to do and how quickly things go and move. I don't think super long term, Denny. Like I get asked a lot, like, what's your dream job or where do you want to be? Like I'm so on this thing now where I want to make sure that God doesn't have to send somebody to do the job he called me to. I know that sounds cliche, and I'm not saying that because Pastor Joby's sitting here and I want to sound Christian. Like I really do mean that. Like that's my goal. Does that mean winning multiple national champions? I don't know. I mean, as a competitor, I'm going to run as fast as I can at that every single day. But I do know when this thing's said and done for me, I want to have a huge impact on these kids and I want to be a light on a hill to an industry right now that I think is getting darker by the day. That's a big deal to me. What does that look like? I don't know. Let's not get twisted. I believe God for success, for championships, for I want to write $1 million check to the church one day. Like, I have those things for me that, like, I want to have those impacts. But when this thing's said and done for me, the players that come into our program, like, I want them to be built and ready for life, and I want to have a huge impact. And I want to, hopefully, by what we do here, have a coach at another school be like, you know what? Because Spence is doing it like that, I think we can do it that way here too, and hopefully have that be a ripple effect to an industry that I think desperately needs people to continue to step up and focus on the development of the kids. And that's what I feel God's called me here to do.
Amen.
What about we can't leave without asking about the blue turf though?
Yeah.
I used to have a facility coach that had red turf, bright red turf, and when I was in a good mood and things were going great, it was great. It was different. But when
Yeah.
when you got to sit in there for 6-7 hours, you're like, I want to see anything except for this red turf. That blue turf ain't going anywhere, is it though?
You better believe it. I joke with our team, like, guys, if we lose games on a blue turf, now we're just jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you better be very successful in the blue turf. I told Pastor Joby, Denny, the invites to you too. There ain't a better place to play home games in the country than right here.
I'm going.
I'm
that blue
100%. Yes.
I'm
So,
telling you.
Two things. One, I need you to bring back the Statue of Liberty that puts you over the top on OU. I'm telling you, just do it. Maybe you're up by, whatever. You're up by 3 scores late. Hit the thing, man, and then, point at the camera. I know you're pointing at me.
But you got to find somebody to propose to the girlfriend too.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause that happened
That was a
right
big
after
game.
as well. Yeah, a lot happened.
And then I'm just going to say this publicly. You're at a place in your life right now, and all kind of people want something from you, and I don't. There's not, I do hope you win like crazy because of our few conversations, the few hours we spend together. I'll be rooting for you and praying for you like crazy. All right. Boise State will be my number 2 team. But if there is ever anything me or this church can do for you and your ministry and your influence or the players there at Boise State, you've got my number. You reach out. I don't want anything from you. And again, man, you're in a high-profile position. And so sometimes some people that are cozying up, you can be like, what's the angle? There's no angle here. I want to help you do all the things that God has called you to do. If you ever think that I could be of help, then you do not hesitate to reach out. And if you don't reach out, I'm going to be mad because you're not a bother, you're a brother. And I don't give that invitation to everybody, but that invitation is for you because I see the Spirit of God in you, man. I really do. Whether you're talking about football or your family or whatever, you've got that thing. And I just want to, I'm like 15 years older than you. And if God could use me to fan the flame that he's put in you for his glory, I would love to get to play some of that role. So if you can use me, please do.
No, Pastor Joby, thank you. And I mean that, how impactful you've been in my life prior to you even knowing I existed. I can't thank you enough for what you say on a daily basis to what you've written. It's impacted me and my family, brother, friends more than you will ever know. And I mean it. I don't take it lightly being able to be in contact with you. And I will respect your time, but I promise you, just being able to text you or call you if something does come up, that means the world to me, and I think the world to you. So I'll be using it. I promise you that.
Thanks, brother. No problem.
Go Broncos.
Yeah, and I'll get Denny to train you up, the next 5-star.
I think
Denny,
all right.
I was hoping this came up, Denny. I did play quarterback in high school.
Oh, yes.
So I was hoping we can get to some of that. I was hoping you maybe watch my VHS film. But we'll get to that later, Denny.
I didn't see that part up there. Yeah, we'll do that in part 2 for sure. For sure. I played quarterback in high school as well, but I'm not exaggerating. I didn't have to stretch. I handed off for over 5,000 yards my senior year, Coach. You've never seen anybody hand off.
I didn't have to stretch.
I didn't need a helmet. It was unreal. Got a state championship ring and all, and threw 6 balls.
Let's go.
Yeah, old school wing tee. But Coach, I appreciate it, man, and huge fan. Huge fan after this, and like I said, go Broncos.
God bless you guys. This was awesome. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks. Awesome. Coach Spencer Danielson from Boise State. Built for More podcast at Built for More Pod. Denny Thompson, Joby Martin. Please like, share, tell your friends about it. We appreciate all the support. Keep it up. We'll talk to you soon.